Now that is how you do a mid-season finale. Hey guys, Carrie Matt for Arrow, Season 4, Episode 9, Dark Waters. And okay, yes, this episode was definitely not as big as last year's, because Oliver didn't die in this episode, obviously. And so, right away, it wasn't as big. It still was a relatively huge episode. I mean, there was a lot going on here, and this is really what The Flash was missing. It's not that I didn't love last night's episode. I thought last night's episode was a very good episode. I really enjoyed it, but it was missing a clear narrative focus on where we're going in the second half of the season, and this very clearly told me where we're going. Such an amazing episode, by far the best episode of the season. So much on this episode, there's so much to cover, and especially the ending. I know you guys want me to talk about that because damn, I mean, I really feel this was the episode that broke the lightness of this season. I really feel we're going to be in a much darker second half of the season, and this first half that's been relatively light is going to get a lot darker, and you definitely see that throughout this episode, and let's just get into it. So, right away, we get this really crazy scene. We see an episode opens on a number of people picking up garbage on the shores of the bay during a Queen campaign event. You know, it's just something that Oliver wants them to do to help out. You know, they don't really think much of it, and suddenly, gunfire just breaks out of nowhere. There's this girl there that looks like Felicity as well, which was really cute. That little girl looked like Felicity. I like seeing that. But then out of nowhere, gunfire just breaks out. A toy helicopter is flying into the crowd until Felicity takes control of it, crashes into the bay. During the event, Oliver saves a child, and very crazy stuff. I mean, they have no idea what's going on. They don't know where this is coming from, and they want to do whatever they can to stop it, and basically that's what happens there. So I love the way that started. I mean, already it's like, okay, this is definitely going to be, you know, that told me two things. One, okay, this is definitely going to be a mid-season finale where a lot happens. Definitely, I knew that. Two, I had no idea where this episode was going, and I love that. I really was on the edge of my seat, I think, this entire episode. So back at the lair, Oliver says that he's sure that it's Darhk. He has no question. He knows that this is definitely Darhk that did this, and they're watching a news report about people who are injured, and the media wants a comment from Oliver, but he really doesn't have them, because what can you say about this? I mean, he doesn't really know what to say about this whole event. There's nothing really he can say. You know, it was a tragic event, and he doesn't really know what to do. So meanwhile, Oliver says that they can unbrainwash Diggle's brother with enough time in the cage, which I thought was very interesting that they're going to do that. You know, unbrainwash Andy, try to get Andy to help them out. And you knew that was going to come back into play, but I did not think it was going to come back into play this soon. But I like that it did, because that was something that we left off on, you know, with Diggle and Andy, you know, kind of broken and not really trusting each other anymore. I was interested in seeing, I like that we got right back into that, and they really handled that storyline, I think, just as well as the main one. So back on Lian Yu, Oliver tells Tiana that he needs her expertise as a dive instructor to achieve his plan against Ryder, and in the present, Diggle shouts at Andy for abandoning his family, but Andy's not impressed. Diggle is saying that Darhk attacked the bay today, and that he hurt a lot of people, and that the drugs are out of his system, so he shouldn't be in Dark's thrall anymore, and he says he wants to believe in his brother, and he asks Andy what Darhk wants with the bay, and Andy says that he really doesn't know, and I do think that Andy's being honest here, but again, he is under Darhk's control, so he probably is hiding something, but I do feel he's being kind of honest here. A very interesting scene. I thought it was interesting that Andy didn't really know what's going on, and I like seeing these scenes between Diggle and Andy, just really powerful stuff here. And at the campaign office, Felicity meets her mother, who's decorating for the holiday party, and Felicity excuses herself to go upstairs, but turns around when her mother screams. She's found Oliver's engagement ring, and apparently he's planning on proposing to her. He's planning on proposing to her, and that's still going to happen. So you knew that was going to come up at some point, because it was supposed to happen in the first episode of the season, and apparently that's still happening now. So she's freaking out. She wants to do whatever she can to hide it, and very funny stuff there. I love seeing that. At the Bayfront, Oliver confers with Team Arrow and agrees to go on the air. Dozens of local and national outlets are there, and he outs Dame Darhk and Hive as the cause behind the attacks on Star City. And I like that he says, look, this was all Darhk and Hive. You know, I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't. I know this is Darhk and Hive. I know they were the ones that did this, and I'm not going to pretend it was anyone else. So, basically, he says they're the cause behind the attacks on Star City. He says, for months, Darhk has made citizens afraid to walk the streets, and it's time to return the favor. He basically wants to scare Darhk, which I thought was a very smart plan, just to show that Darhk can be just as scared, and that Darhk is a very cowardly person. So I definitely like seeing that. So at Hive Headquarters, Darhk blows off the TV, seemingly with his mind, which was awesome, let me just say. All the scenes with Darhk in this episode, I loved. I thought he was great. I mean, just, he was awesome this entire episode. So, and if you guys thought he was underused this season, you should definitely not think that after this episode, because he's basically in the entire episode. So, an old man with a German accent tells him, congratulations, Damien, you're famous, which was very interesting that we saw that. And at the lair, Felicity has holiday decorations. By the way, guys, something I love about this episode is that while it was a Christmas episode, it really didn't feel like a Christmas episode. Like, Christmas was in the background, but that clearly was not the focus of this episode. Nothing about this was focused on Christmas. So Oliver wants to cancel the holiday party, but everyone teams up on him to say that would send a message that he's afraid of Darhk, and Oliver tells him to talk to Lance about getting extra security, which is probably the best thing to do. I mean, when Dark's attacking people like he is, probably the best thing to do is to get extra security. So Oliver asks Felicity whether they did the right thing, saying they know Darhk will retaliate, and Felicity says that when he does, that they'll be ready. They will be ready, guns blazing, and I love seeing that, definitely. Some great Felicity scenes this episode. So on Lian Yu, Oliver brings Tayana to the shore, gives her a map so that she can help him make a plan. And at her home, Thea meets Malcolm, and he says the Darks. Now, this I thought was interesting when we're going to see Malcolm, because of course the ending of last week's episode, him working with Vandal Savage, does not come into play in this episode, but it's just everything with Malcolm. I feel like we need to take it with a grain of salt. Like, don't take everything he says with a grain of salt. There's definitely, I feel like there's more to Malcolm's plan, we just don't know. But what he tells her here, I think, is very interesting. He says the Dark's effort on Thea has nothing to do with his involvement with the Lazarus Pit. He says he's afraid of the forces at play. He doesn't understand, and asks her to promise that she'll be careful, which she does. That she promises that she is going to be careful. And I like seeing Thea's concern for Oliver in this episode. I thought that was some really great stuff here. Just seeing that, at the end of the day, Thea cares about her brother's safety the most, just like he cares about her safety the most. I really like seeing that. The way they look out for each other, they've really focused on that very well this season, I think. I like that scene. So I like that Malcolm's just there to check on Thea, to make sure that she's okay, to make sure that she's not going to hurt herself, and I definitely like seeing that. I mean, we've really seen a big transformation for her all season long. She's really gone from Oliver's sister to a much more powerful figure, and we've really seen that all season. I think this is a very good example of that. So at the holiday party, Diggle has brought in a group of Marines for security, and Curtis comes in and brings his husband, and Felicity's very awkward when she meets him, and pretty much reveals that she knows about the ring. And Felicity hears the story of the proposal and goes off to find her mother, who's making out with Lance, which was very funny. And she's at first surprised and then grossed out, and then she tells her mother that she's figured out that he was going to propose 3 months ago. And Felicity realizes that things changed after they moved home, and she asks him why, and he says he didn't change his mind, but he needs time to figure things out. She tells him what she can understand, why they can't both have the life they want. And I think that's a very good line that she says. I mean, they clearly want this quiet life, and they can never have that. And she wants to know, why can't we have this life? What caused us to not have this life? Why can't we just have this quiet life? Why can't we just be normal? Why do we always have to be fighting crime all the time? That is a very good question, but it's mainly just because of how Oliver is. I understand, and I think Felicity understands that Oliver needs to be fighting crime, but it's just, he doesn't really want this life anymore. If you remember, he had no interest in becoming the Green Arrow in the first half of the season. It's just something he's basically had to do because he knows how bad the situation is, and there's no way for him to not get involved. He has to get involved. He has to help them out, and he basically can't say no. It's one of those kind of situations where he just can't say no. It's one of those things, and Felicity needs to understand that. I thought that was definitely a very good scene. I really like seeing that. So I definitely really love seeing that. I thought they did that very, very well. Um, So, Darhk and a battery of gunmen come in, and Darhk sweeps security guards' guns away with a wave of his hand. He tells Oliver that he wants to teach him a lesson by pushing the ones he cares about, and then he waits. Now, that's a very interesting line when he says, I want to punish the ones you care about, because we'll get to the end of this episode. Very interesting. He waves his hand and throws Oliver through when he tells his gunmen to take him, and Oliver wakes up at the campaign office where Felicity's mom comes to tell him that Felicity's been taken. He promises to get her back and stumbles back out. And I can understand someone's thought, oh, this was just a damsel in distress thing. But no, Felicity's a lot stronger than that. Alex says they took Thea too, and Lance says they have Diggle. So Oliver tells, and I like that it wasn't just Felicity. I like that Thea was gone, Diggle was gone. Those are the three most important people in Oliver's life. And Oliver tells Alex to get everyone medical help from the campaign funds and heads out, telling Alex to stall the police who want to talk to me. Heads out to the streets when he starts cracking skulls, looking for Darhk's location. I mean, this is back to, like, raging Oliver, and I love seeing that here. I mean, Oliver's been pretty lighthearted, but this was really back to that raging Darhk Oliver that we've all been afraid of seeing, but it definitely is back in this episode. I mean, he is beyond pissed at what Darhk is doing. How could you not be pissed, honestly? How could you not be pissed at what he's doing? And he is gonna do whatever he can to find, his friends. So back at the lair, Laurel tells him not to blame himself for this, and I like that she tells him this. She says, look, don't blame yourself. She says that he made the right call, and that Team Arrow can take care of this themselves. This has nothing to do with him. He's not the person that did this, he's not the one that caused this. Even though he was involved with this, he's not the person that caused this, and I definitely do agree with that. I mean, while this is kind of Oliver's fault, it's really not. I mean, he's not the one that could have predicted that Darhk was going to do this. I mean, he basically outed Darhk and had a plan. This really was not his fault. Yes, Darhk, you knew was going to retaliate, but it really was not, his fault that this happened. So Laurel gets a text from work, and Oliver heads back to look for the ghost who's going to talk. And I like the Laurel's telling him this, mainly because she doesn't want Oliver to go back to his old ways. She doesn't want Oliver to act remorseful. She doesn't want this to be a repeat of Moira's death. She knows how he acted there, and she just wants him to calm down about this one. She doesn't want this to affect him because she knows that it probably will affect him, and she doesn't want this to affect him because most times when someone dies, it very much affects him, and she doesn't want this death to affect him because she knows it probably will. So Oliver is back to look for the ghost who's going to talk, and on the island, Oliver heads out into the water, leaving Tiana on the shore. He swims into the wreckage of the Amazon, and basically at the police department, Laurel comes to confront her father about working for Darhk, and he tells her that Darhk threatened her, and he did what he needed to do to keep her safe. And I like that she talked about this, because they never really had a legit conversation about this, and she asks how many fathers' daughters have died because of him, and Lance says he has been working for Oliver for a while, and while they're arguing, Oliver texts Lance to meet him now. So, basically, that's what happens there. Oliver's texting Lance to meet up, and, basically, I do want to talk about something when we get to the end of this episode, because there's something that's very interesting. I'm hearing this theory about Lance that I definitely do want to talk about. So both Lances go into the water, and when Malcolm comes in, Lance points a gun at him. Malcolm takes the gun away. He has a phone that will work to contact Darhk, and reveals to Lance that he's the new Roz, and Lance is obviously really pissed about this, because he doesn't want Roz to be involved anymore after everything that happened with Oliver last season, and Oliver plans to turn himself over to Darhk, that he's going to turn himself over, and I thought that was very smart of Oliver to do that. However, he clearly doesn't know what he's dealing with. I mean, he's clearly dealing with a much more smarter guy than he thinks he is, and this definitely is not going to go as well for Oliver as he thinks it's going to. So at Hive, Darhk is being criticized by the other board members who aren't happy he's wasting time with Oliver, because they think that he should expand, that he should not just work on Oliver, that he should expand on other people. And he gets the call from Oliver, and excuse himself. He meets Oliver at the bayfront. Oliver says that he took his friends to make a point, he's made it. Darhk says that he hasn't yet. And at Hive, Oliver tells Darhk to let his friends go. Darhk brings him into an area where he pawn pontificates about the gas chamber. He brings a hollow-eyed man to the area, puts him into the gas chamber, and just kills him right there. I mean, it's showing that I will kill you. This is what I will do to you. If I can do this to some random guy, I can do this to your friends, and I can do this to you, and that's what he wants to do, which is just insane. I mean, we've kind of seen Darhk in this cartoonish way, but this is really showing that, no, Darhk means business. He will do some serious shit, and he's not afraid to do that. So, at the lair, Laurel's about to head out after Oliver. Lance wants to go, but Laurel tells him that he has to let her decide whether she needs protection, and he ultimately relents, but he tells her to be careful about this, that, even though she wants to fight, that she needs to be very careful, because they're clearly dealing with a very, very skilled killer who knows what he's doing, and will probably kill them in a second. So at Hive, Oliver's walking through some cells. Felicity sees him and calls out, so Darhk gives him time alone with her. In inner cell, Felicity objects to Oliver having made the decision to turn himself in for her, giving him a similar lecture to what Laurel just gave her father, and she tells him that if he had proposed, she would have said yes. A very good scene. I like that she said, look, I would have said yes if you were proposed, because you don't know if, he doesn't know if he's going to see Felicity, and if this is going to work, and if they're going to stay together. You don't really know what's going to happen here, and I really love that. You really feel that uncertainty here, and they did a very good job with that. So, back to the flashbacks. Inside the Amazon, Oliver services for air, and then goes back down for a map squirreled away in a box. He takes another gulp of air and swims back to the shore. And in the main core of the Hive facility, two ghosts grab Oliver, then they drag Felicity into the gas chamber. He tells Oliver that he's taking away his motivation by killing them, and Oliver runs to the glass and slams on it, and as Darhk is taunting him, Laurel and Malcolm show up. Malcolm dressed as Green Arrow, and Laurel used her scream to shatter the glass, and that was awesome. Team Arrow makes an escape. Malcolm hangs back and shoots an exploding arrow at Darhk, who uses mine to start strangling him. Oliver tackles Darhk before he can finish the job, and while Team Arrow is standing in the jail area, the other cells open and baddies start going after them, and when the scream fails to take them out, Lance shows up with a gun, and I love that everyone contributed to this. It's something I thought they did very well here. Back in the Climb last year's episode, was only Oliver and Roz facing off. Here, pretty much everyone contributed to helping out Oliver, which it really shows how far, how close this team has become. I mean, they've all become like their big family, and I love seeing that here. So when the scream fails to take them out, Lance shows up with a gun to help even the odds, and Team Arrow takes down the prisoners, then a group of cops join the fray, and it really shows how much more is at stake this season, because, let's face it, Lance was not involved with anything really last season. Yeah, he was involved with being a cop, but that was really it. He was just simply a cop, and that's what happened there. He really wasn't involved here. He wasn't fighting. Black Canary wasn't involved. You didn't have Speedy last season. It just really shows how much things have changed, and I love seeing that. So, elsewhere, Darhk is beating on Oliver when Malcolm shoots him full of arrows, pinning him to the ground, then leaves an explosive arrow next to him. Darhk recites an incantation, and the arrow explodes, taking out much of the building, and he's not going down without a fight, clearly. And at the lair, Team Arrow is happy that they took out Darhk, but Laurel doesn't believe that he'll stay dead. They don't think that, he's gonna be dead, and he's not gonna die. That they're clearly not gonna kill off Darhk, and Felicity and Thea apparently have a secret. Now, what that secret is, we don't know, but we'll have to see what it is. So, Oliver comes to the shore wearing a shark bite scar when Conklin and 3 other men come, catch him and tie on it together, and say they're going to enjoy taking pieces out of you. So, clearly something very bad's going to happen to Oliver in the flashbacks. I don't really care just because we know he's going to be okay. So, at the lair, Diggle tells his brother that he wants to believe in him, but Andy blows him off again. And he doesn't want a relationship with Diggle. He really doesn't. I mean, he's working for Darhk. He's been told that Diggle's the enemy. He's clearly been brainwashed, and there's no way to pull him out of it. While it seemed like there was a way, this seems like it's going to be a lot harder than it is. And I think a big part of this is, how is Diggle going to unbrainwash his brother? I mean, he's trying to, but I feel like, Darhk just brainwashed him so badly that he really doesn't have much memory, and he really doesn't feel much when it comes to Diggle, and he wants to, but he really doesn't. So the Hive Brain Trusts are unhappy with Darhk, but he says that they're exactly where they need to be. He takes them out a door and into a cornfield where he tells them that using the algae that have created the gas chamber fumes, the air down here is fully breathable. He shows them what looks like a huge low ceiling, and they ask, what about Oliver? And then we get to this scene. Holy shit. I mean, I know you guys really want me to talk about this because this is the one big thing about this episode. I mean, this episode was big already, but this is definitely very big. And I love seeing the Darhk is not going out because, let's face it, he is an awesome villain. Even though he is, obviously probably one of the most sadistic villains we've ever had on this show, and probably the most sadistic, honestly. I do stand by it that I do think that he probably is the best villain in the show. His only competition being Slade. I think Slade was a really great villain too. So right next to Slade, he definitely is up there. He really is an awesome villain. I think they're definitely doing a very good job with him. So at the second version of Oliver's holiday party, because the first one failed, he makes an inspirational speech for the people in attendance and tells them that they're not going down without a fight, and that Darhk, they will prevail against Darhk, and I love that. And he lights a Christmas tree saying that they won't let terrorists win, and I like that he is willing to fight. He's telling him, look, we're not going to go down without a fight. He tells the crowd he's grateful for each of them, and then says he's grateful for one woman more than any of them, and he proposes to Felicity, and she accepts, and the crowd applauds, and it's beautiful. I love that he finally proposed to her. Very sweet scene. Yes, she saw it coming, but he knew that he had to do it because he wouldn't feel good about himself unless he didn't. And in the limousine later, Oliver and Felicity are sitting together. They kiss, and their car is cornered by a number of vehicles. Literally, these men just start shooting at them. It's crazy when this started happening. And Oliver covers Felicity. Elsewhere, Darhk walks up behind a woman and her daughters. They trim a tree. Now, who the hell they are, I don't know. I kind of felt like this might be Darhk's family. Like, maybe he actually has a wife and a daughter that we don't know about. I mean, let's face it, we don't know too much about Darhk's past. We really don't. And I feel like now we're going to start to learn more about his past, and this is a very good example of that. So who these two women are, we don't know. And I like that we don't know. I like that ambiguity. I like that ambiguity in this scene because we don't know who they are. So in the car, Oliver successfully takes control of the vehicle, drives away, and Darhk hugs the little girl, and it's a very powerful scene here. Oliver pulls over, checks on Felicity, while Darhk, his apparent wife and daughter, are decorating their tree together. They seem to be his wife and daughter. He pulls Felicity out of the car. She appears to be dead, and that's how the episode ends. Now, I don't think Felicity is dead. I'm going to say that right now. I do not think Felicity is dead. I'm going to tell you guys why. Yes, we see in the promo that Oliver says, I'm going to kill him, but he would have killed Darhk regardless. Yes, we understand that. We know that he said that to Barry in the first episode. We know that someone's supposed to die, and we know that it's supposed to be a permanent death. Thing is, though, Barry said that he had all this stuff going on with Zoom, and there's all this stuff that Zoom did, and that Zoom is somehow connected to all this. And none of that happened yet, so I'm not going to say that Felicity's dead yet. I'm not going to say that until we hear that Felicity Smoke is dead. I don't think she's dead yet. I really don't, because we see her go to the hospital in the next episode, but that is how you do a cliffhanger. I mean, really, I had no idea it was going to be Felicity. I'm hearing this theory, though, that Lance might be the one to go, and I would honestly believe that, because think about how much that would affect everyone. I mean, that would affect Laurel in the sense that that's her father. That would affect Oliver in the sense that, Lance has always been like a father to him, and that would really affect him. That would affect pretty much everyone around him, and I think if he died, it would be just as effective as if Felicity died. Obviously, it wouldn't affect Oliver as much, but I don't think Felicity's going to die. I'm going to say that. Not that I would be upset if they did kill her off. I would obviously be very, very upset, but I'm just saying that I think that Lance is probably going to be the one I think it's going to go. But overall, guys, amazing, amazing finale. I loved every minute of this finale. Now, there are a few things to talk about here. What's going on with Darhk's past? Like I said, we got that little inkling of Darhk's family. We don't really know what's going on there. We haven't heard about them till now. Is there more going on with Darhk's past we don't know about? Because up till now, we didn't know that Darhk had a family. All of a sudden, we're just seeing this woman and her daughter, who appear to be his wife and kid, which I think is very interesting that we're seeing this, and I'm interested in seeing if he's going to maybe get them to help them in on his plan, which is definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Felicity and Thea kept a secret from Oliver. What is that secret that they're keeping? We don't know what it is, and if Felicity dies, we'll never know what that secret is. That's another reason why I feel they're not going to kill off, because Thea and Felicity clearly have a secret. And yes, if Felicity dies, Thea will definitely tell Oliver that secret, but what is that secret they're keeping? Well, we're definitely going to find out, and we'll have to see what happens with that. That definitely is going to be very interesting. Lance, I definitely am interested in seeing what's going to happen with Lance, because I like that Lance got involved with this. I like that he was willing to kill Darhk, but I think Darhk is not going to work with Lance anymore, because I think Darhk is realizing that Oliver's more of a threat, and he needs to kill more of Oliver's enemies before he kills some of Lance's enemies. And I really think that's what Darhk is going to do. He's going to kill off pretty much everyone that Oliver cares about. He's going to try to kill him, and that's really what he wants to do here. Now, as far as Diggle and Andy, it's really sad what's going on between these two. Really, it is, because it'd be great if these two, saw eye to eye, but they just don't. I mean, Andy's brainwashed. He's pretty much gone, really. He really is. I mean, Diggle, it's going to be very hard for him to get his brother back. I know he wants to, but it's just going to be very hard for him to do so, and I hope it works well for him, but I really don't know at this point, honestly. Things are so bad between Diggle and Andy that I really don't know if they're going to be able to fix things. I'm not really sure. I want to say, yeah, I want to be optimistic, but then there's a point of me that just doesn't really know if Diggle should trust his brother and if he'll ever get his brother back to the way to the way things used to be, because obviously Diggle wants to have that back. He wants to have that bond back with his brother, but he doesn't know if it's going to be the same way. He doesn't know if he can get that back. He wants to be optimistic, but you can tell he's losing hope, and you don't really know what's going to happen there. Lance finding out that Malcolm is Ra's al Ghul, that definitely is going to be a problem. I don't know exactly what's going to happen there. We'll have to see what's going to happen with that. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen there. But like I said, I don't think Felicity's going to be the one to die, because I think it's going to happen towards the end of the season. I really do think so. Now, I do think that the second half of the season is going to be a lot darker, and Oliver's realizing that he needs to step it up and actually kill Darhk, which is going to be interesting to see what happens there. I like that we saw, like, nothing in the promo. Very good stuff. Really enjoyed that. But overall, guys, how have I thought of the season overall? I've really loved this season, I have to say. It really has been the comeback season of Arrow for me. I think this is going to, this has just been a very fun season so far, and now a very dark season, definitely. Definitely seems like we're in for a much darker second half of the season. I'm a bit worried about that, because if you guys remember, last season was just too dark. That really was my complaint with season 3, is that it just simply got too dark, and it was hard to keep interest because of how dark it got. But things are just so more interesting this season. There's so much more at stake, and everyone is directly involved, that it's going to be very hard for me to lose interest, honestly. It's going to be very hard for me to lose interest. It's going to be very hard for me to not be interested in what's going on, and I love that. But overall, guys, I loved every minute of this episode. Amazing finale overall. I cannot wait for when this returns. This is the show that I'm looking forward to returning the most out of The Flash and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is what I'm looking forward to returning the most. Amazing mid-season finale. That's how you do it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season of You're the Worst, because the finale happens tonight, and I am definitely going to be reviewing the season. I have a lot to say about it, and I will see you guys for my review of that. Okay, bye.